mysterious secrets from the Vatican's vaults. Number 10 is Christ's wife. Most of what we know about Christianity comes from the New Testament. This is a collection of books which were deemed accurate during the first few centuries after Christ's death and resurrection. They lay out Christ's life and the teachings from different perspectives, and they also contain many important spiritual teachings. However, archaeologists have discovered other books about Jesus and Christianity written around the time of his life. They add numerous things to the teachings of Christ, but they also suggest a shocking revelation that Jesus Christ had a wife. It's rumored that beneath the Vatican there are similar documents showing that this is the case, but because they go against the current view of Christ's life, they remain hidden. Number 9 are the 3 secrets of Fatima. In 1917, it said that 3 Portuguese shepherds were visited by the ghosts of the Virgin Mary. The ghosts gave the 3 shepherds a series of apocalyptic prophecies, as well as terrifying visions. The secrets were written down in an envelope and given to the Catholic Church. In the year 2000, details of the visions were released, with many interpreting them as premonitions of World War I, as well as World War II, and even visions of hell itself. Though the visions were released, many believe that only some of the text was shared with the public, and that some of the letters remain unpublished in the Vatican's vaults. Why this was done, no one knows, but it could be that the letters contained information about humanity's future that would cause a mass panic. Number 8 are the trials of the Knights Templar. The Knights Templar were a powerful military order during the Crusades, when Christian armies descended upon the Middle East to claim the Holy Land for themselves. Known for never surrendering, they were more than just an army. They had a powerful network of financial, political, and aristocratic backing. In fact, they became so influential that they were charged with heresy by the King of France and arrested. Most of their known members were executed and imprisoned. It's known that the Vatican has within its vaults documents from the Templar trials, and some that suggested that they also have proof that even today the Knights Templar is manipulating the world from the shadows as a successful secret society. Number 7 is the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant is a pivotal relic from the Old Testament. It's a large gold-covered wooden chest with a heavy golden lid. Inside the Ark of the Covenant, it's said that there are stone tablets. On these tablets are the very commandments which God gave to man through Moses. There are other relics as well, and collectively the Ark is said to carry with it supernatural power to vanquish any army. This power is too great for anyone to hold, and so the Ark disappeared long ago. However, there are rumors that within the Vatican vaults, there are documents which hint at its current location. It's believed that if these documents fell into the wrong hands, so too would the Ark, and no one would ever be able to stand in their way. Number 6 is evidence of the chronovisor. In the 2002 book, The Vatican's New Mystery, a fascinating part of the Vatican's history was laid bare. The author of the book, a priest named Father Francois Brune, claimed to have seen a time viewer. This was a device that let any person view any moment in time. It was allegedly built by Pellegrino Ernetti, who was both a priest and a scientist. Ernetti was a very real person and was experimenting with inventions during the 1960s. The story goes that Ernetti worked alongside 12 other leading scientists in order to create a large cabinet like an old television. They called it the chronovisor. The device soon disappeared after its creators watched the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, but some believe that it was being worked on beneath the Vatican. Number 5 are the Nero letters. While parts of the Vatican archives have been open to scholars, much of it remains hidden. It's a legitimate question to want to know why. One theory is that the archive protects the identity of Jesus Christ's descendants. It's been suggested in several books on the topic that there were correspondence between St. Paul and Emperor Nero about the fact that Jesus actually had children and who they were. If this information were made public, those people's modern-day relatives would be in mortal danger, especially if one of their offspring is to be the next savior of the planet and defeat the forces of darkness. Who can tell? Before all we know, one of you watching this video is an actual descendant of Jesus Christ, and you don't even know it. Number 4 is the Spear of Destiny. Ever since the Roman Empire, those in power have been obsessed with relics associated with Jesus Christ. One of those relics that has been sought after the most is the Spear of Destiny. It's been said that the tip of the spear was what delivered the killing blow to Christ while he lay dying on the cross. The spear, also known as the Holy Lance, is rumored to bestow powers to the one who wields it. There have been many relics around Europe claiming to be the true spear, but some believe that the real spear is in one of two places. Either it's in the hands of an underground Nazi group who smuggled the spear out of Germany at the end of the Second World War, or it's locked safely away in the Vatican's vaults. Let's hope it's the latter. Number 3 is Demonic Possession Archives. While the movie The Exorcist was indeed based on an allegedly true case, the Vatican itself has continued to distance itself from the exorcism ritual. When an application for an exorcism is made, the church tends to turn it down. However, they do still occasionally take place, and they even have assigned exorcists to those difficult spiritual encounters. The public does not get access to the details of these cases, however. Most of them are hidden somewhere inside or underneath the Vatican. The question is, why would they hide proof of demonic possession when it would support the existence of God? For some, it's because the demons in those cases speak half-truths and have revealed some facts about reality that would shake humanity to its core. Number 2 is the Holy Grail. Like the Spear of Destiny in the Ark of the Covenant, the Holy Grail is another relic deep-rooted within Christianity. If the spear is what pierced Jesus Christ's side, then the Holy Grail is said to be the cup that caught his blood. Others argue that the cup was the same one used at the Last Supper, but it's possible that the Grail was used for both purposes. Although the Grail is intimately connected to the legend of King Arthur, whose knights searched for the Grail, it's the Grail's properties which have endured longest. It's said that anyone who drinks from the cup will become immortal. Many have searched for the cup and failed, but there are rumors that the cup is hidden away from humanity and that its resting place is beneath the Vatican itself. And number 1 is proof that we are not alone. Recent published encounters with military jets suggest that, at the very least, there is something unknown in the skies above us. However, there is one theory about the Vatican vaults that the Pope and his followers already know the answer to the question, are we alone? It's rumored that some of the infamous crystal skulls, which some believe were made with technology that we do not have even today, are held within its vaults. However, the most earth-shattering theory of all states that long ago the Vatican unearthed the remains of a real extraterrestrial and refuses to publish this information because it would mean that humans are no longer at the center of God's story. We would need to share the stage with others. Number 10 is a Chinese lamp. Ming vases are priceless antiques dating all the way back to 15th century China. Just to give you an idea, a single Ming vase can fetch millions of dollars at auction. But of course, that valuation depends entirely on what you do with it. That's because in 2012, a rare Ming vase was put up for auction that some bonehead had turned into a lamp. They had actually glued a wooden base to the priceless relic, attached metal fixings at the neck, and then ran a wire through a drilled hole to the light bulb. Experts estimate that if it had remained untouched, it would be worth $3 to $4 million. But somehow the vase still sold for $730,000. But believe it or not, this is not the only case of Ming vandalism. Around the same time, another priceless Ming vase was found cracked and had been converted into an umbrella stand. DIY has never been so expensive. Number 9 is a 19th century guitar. In Quentin Tarantino's western, The Hateful Eight, Kurt Russell demolished an irreplaceable guitar. It had been loaned to the Hateful Eight filmmakers. It was an authentic Martin acoustic guitar, handcrafted from the 1870s. As you can guess, there aren't that many still around. The guitar was added to the scene for authenticity, and in it, actress Jennifer Jason Leigh was strumming the real guitar which Kurt Russell's character was supposed to destroy in a fit of rage. But the plan was to stop filming during the scene and then swap the guitar with a fake so that Kurt Russell could destroy it. But guess what? That didn't happen! But guess what? No one had told Kurt that. He thought the guitar was the fake and smashed it into a million pieces. The camera caught Jennifer Jason Leigh's real reaction, which was left in the final movie. That's an expensive mistake. That's nightmares for everybody. Number 8 is a parachuting rat. In 2003, one of the world's most famous contemporary artists, Banksy, painted a series of anti-war paintings in Melbourne, Australia. Known as the Parachuting Rat series, they were painted onto street walls and were widely considered to be priceless pieces of art. But one contractor from Melbourne mustn't have gotten the memo because he painted over one of the wall paintings. The Melbourne Council itself tends to promote street art, however, they take exception to gang tags spray painted on walls. Guess what they thought the Banksy artwork was? That's where the misunderstanding came from, as the cleaners were going around the city removing such tags and other gang-related graffiti wherever they found it. And all the Lord Mayor of Melbourne could say about the destruction of the Banksy painting was that it was an honest mistake. Yeah, an expensive one. Number 7 is a crushed violin. In 2008, renowned violinist David Garrett destroyed his violin. No big deal, right? All you gotta do is pop down to the store and buy a new one. Except David's violin was worth more than $1 million. Ouchie. The violin was built by instrument maker G.B. Guadagnini and was 230 years old. David Garrett, the violin's owner and eventual destroyer, was carrying the violin in a backpack case on that day. In a hurry to meet his family after a performance, he slipped and fell down a set of stairs when he landed on the violin with a crack. His family rushed over to check if he was okay, but David was more concerned about the priceless violin, which now had several cracks across it. The repairs cost $80,000, but on the bright side, David believes that the violin saved his life. Kinda like a musical superhero. Number 6 is Thomas Jefferson's wine. A New York wine merchant once turned one of the rarest bottles of wine into the world's most expensive puddle. William Sokolin was known for his showmanship at fancy black tie events. In 1989, he attended a dinner party celebrating the most recent and best wines from Bordeaux. He knew that the highest profile wine experts in New York would be attending, so he decided to show off. And William did this by bringing a 200-year-old bottle of wine, hoping that someone at the event would eventually buy it. But the wine itself was very special. The bottle had been owned by Thomas Jefferson himself and even had his signature on the label. But while showing the unopened bottle off to the people at the table, William accidentally struck the bottle against the serving table. The bottle shattered and the story has become legend in drinking circles. And in YouTube videos. Bonehead, bonehead! Number 5 is Picasso's Les Rêves. A masterpiece was nearly destroyed by the clumsiness of a billionaire. The The painting in question is the Les Rêves, a 1932 portrait Picasso painted of his mistress. In 1997, the portrait was sold for $48.4 million, and it only took Picasso 5 hours to paint it. In 2001, casino magnate Steve Wynn bought the painting, and in 2006, showed it off to some of his friends at his Las Vegas casino. Unfortunately, Steve Wynn suffers from a condition which affects his peripheral vision. So, as he stood next to the painting talking about its importance and how Picasso painted it, disaster struck. Like many people, Steve talks while moving his hands, and at one point gestured to the side, poking his elbow straight through the middle of the painting, tearing it to pieces. And over here I invested $500 million into this. Okay, excuse me while I jump off this casino. Number 4 are the Elgin Marbles. The British Museum once accidentally damaged one of the most important surviving relics of ancient Greece. The Elgin Marbles are a series of stone sculptures which were part of the Temple of the Parthenon in Athens during the 5th century BC. When they were housed in the British Museum of London, they were covered in a layer of grime for decades of pollution throughout the 19th and early 20th centuries. During several attempts to clean the sculptures, chemicals such as nitric acid were used, and finally stone scrapers were used to dislodge the dirt. Unfortunately, this also eroded 2.55 millimeters of the surface. And this removed much of the detail on the statues, which had survived for thousands of years. Wash, 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 chip, chip, chip. Ha, boss, I made a boo-boo! Number 3 are the Nazca Lines. In 2014, Greenpeace managed to destroy parts of the famous Nazca Lines. These lines were carved into the ground of the Nazca Desert in Peru 1,500 years ago. They depict many things, including shapes, animals, and even people, which can be seen from the sky. But Greenpeace protesters decided that adding some lines of their own to the desert would be a great way to get their message across of protecting the environment. While leaving the words "time for change, the future is renewable" on the ground, they managed to vandalize the ancient site with new lines of their own, altering something which had existed for over 1,000 years. Hey Greenpeace, hey, what's happening? Listen, I'm all for saving the planet, but you know, there's better ways to promote yourself than being a dick. You're stupid, why did you do that? Oh my god. Number 2 is Tutankhamun's beard. Tutankhamun is the most famous Egyptian pharaoh of all time, and his burial mask is one of the most priceless artifacts in history. It was crafted out of gold and intricate lapis lazuli. Something so irreplaceable should be handled with care, and yet in 2014, workers managed to break the mask's beard off. Instead of following strict procedures to restore the mask to its former glory, an as of yet unidentified person glued the beard back on using epoxy. Hey, they did a great job, except that it was off-center. Experts noticed the damage and the fact that old Tutankhamun was now sporting a squint beard, and there was a national inquiry as to what happened. While no one knows exactly who was responsible, 8 employees of Egypt's National Museum are awaiting trial for being involved. Huh, could you imagine that guy's panic? He's like, got to be clean, got to be safe, snap. And number 1 is the most expensive game of dominoes. At an exhibition in Los Angeles, a museum visitor decided to take a selfie next to a series of expensive crowned sculptures which were displayed on individual pedestals. You already know this is going to turn out terrible. When the visitor leaned against one of the pedestals, she lost her balance, fell backwards, and began what can only be called the most expensive game of dominoes in history. The pedestals fell into each other, throwing many of the sculptures to the ground. And it was all caught on glorious video. It was estimated that the accident caused hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of damage, and that some of the sculptures were either completely destroyed or would require a ridiculous amount of extensive work to be fixed. Before the accident, the LA Times had described the exhibition as a great place to take a perfect selfie. Number 1 is the Antikythera mechanism. Divers discovered the Antikythera mechanism in 1900 at the bottom of the Aegean Sea in a Roman shipwreck. The bronze device was found in a small wooden box and is made up of complex mechanical gears with mysterious engravings. It's believed that it was created sometime between 250 and 100 BC. However, the technology is so advanced that anything even remotely similar wasn't discovered until over 1,000 years later, when astronomical clocks were invented during the 14th century. Scientists believe that it was basically an ancient analog computer, but no one knows what it was used for. The best guess is that it tracked astrological positions, like the lunar calendar, and predicted events such as the seasons. The only problem is that it would have been hundreds of years before there was any scientific understanding of the planets or even gravity. Its true origin, or how it even really worked, is still a mystery to this day. Number 2 are the stone balls of Costa Rica. Spread across the Osa region in southern Costa Rica, over 300 stone balls, known as Las Bolas, have mystified archaeologists for decades. They were created between 600 and 1000 AD and vary from only a couple inches to over 6 feet in diameter and weigh up to 15 tons. Each one of them is made from gabbro, limestone, or sandstone. They're nearly perfectly round and would have been carefully sculpted and sanded into a shape from much larger boulders. The Daqui people, who are native to the area, are likely the ones who made them. However, nobody knows why or how they were able to accomplish this. One theory is that they were put into lines leading to the chief's home, but by the time the spheres were discovered in the 1930s, they may have been moved. Some believe that the balls were relics left from the lost city of Atlantis, while others tried blowing them up in order to see if they contained hidden gold treasure. But to this day, nobody has any answer for why they even exist. Number 3 is Greek fire. Between the 7th and 12th century, the Byzantine Empire was still in full swing, defending the remaining borders of the once massive Roman Empire, which often involved large naval battles. The Byzantines would use a system of tubes and siphons to create a type of flamethrower capable of shooting a flammable liquid chemical at their enemies. There are numerous records, including detailed drawings of it being used. The only problem is, no one knows what it was made from. It's believed that it was a secret Byzantine formula that only a few select very important people knew, and it was so well hidden that it eventually died out along with the rest of the Roman Empire. The mystery chemical was said to cling to flesh and could engulf a ship within minutes. What made it especially deadly was that it could burn in water. Scientists have not been able to replicate the effects of this mystery chemical, and to this day it remains unsolved. Number 4 is the universal antidote. Scientists have dedicated their lives to creating antidotes for some of the most deadly poisons on Earth. But what if there was one antidote to rule them all? Mithridates VI was the king of Pontus from 120 to 63 BC, and it was during this time that he developed the mythical Antidotum Mithridaticum. After his father was assassinated, Mithridates went rogue and lived in the forest for 7 years. During that time, he experimented with different formulas that would give him immunity from poisons. He went as far as to ingest small amounts of lethal venoms to test out his medicines. The result was made from 54 different ingredients, including chopped vipers, opium, and small amounts of lethal poison and known antidotes, which were mixed together in a flask and left for 2 months. History tells us that this liquid was incredibly valuable. However, because it was so closely guarded, the secret formula was never passed on. Number 5 is Damascus steel. Damascus steel was first discovered around 300 BC, but all remaining traces of how the steel was forged were lost by the 18th century. The steel was named for the capital city of Damascus in Syria, where it was founded and made into some of the world's deadliest swords, including Viking swords. The steel was known for its beautiful wave patterns and was said to be able to bend 90 degrees and bend back into place without breaking. The indestructible material was made from woots, which is a combination of iron and steel that would have been imported from Asia and then melted with a mix of raw plant matter to make a crucible steel. It was an extremely advanced nanotechnology alchemy. It's only thanks to modern scanning electron microscopes that scientists even have an understanding of what made the steel so strong. But exactly how the swordsmiths did this is still unknown. Number 6 is Zhang Heng's seismoscope. It may just look like a badass piece of ancient art, but when Chinese inventor and astronomer Zhang Heng created the seismoscope around 130 AD, he actually invented the first known earthquake detector. The bronze urn-shaped device was incredibly decorated, with 8 dragons attached to its sides, representing the 8 basic directions, facing 8 open-mouthed frogs which sat below them. When it detected an earthquake, the dragon, representing the direction of the quake, would drop a ball into the frog's mouth. It was amazingly accurate and could detect a quake from hundreds of miles away. But what's truly incredible is that this was done despite tectonic plates not even being discovered yet. Scientists have been trying to replicate this seismoscope for centuries, even as recently as 2005, all unsuccessfully. Even the mechanisms inside the vessel and how the ball dropped are still unknown. Number 7 is the Great Pyramid of Giza. One of the biggest mysteries of the ancient Egyptians is the Great Pyramid of Giza. The pyramid would have been finished around 2560 BC and would have taken tens of thousands of workers 10 to 20 years to build. It's the oldest and largest of the 3 Giza pyramids, and amazingly, it's still largely intact, and for centuries it was the largest man-made object on Earth. It's made from 5.5 million tons of limestone, 8,000 tons of granite, and 500,000 tons of mortar. Its base is 756 feet, and when it was first built, it would have been 481 feet tall. But it's not the why it was built that remains a mystery. In fact, researchers believe that it was actually a tomb for the 4th dynasty pharaoh Khufu, but instead how it was built. Now, there are numerous theories, from using scaffolding, pulleys, ropes, or ramps, all the way to alien intervention. But despite years of investigation, no one can agree on how it was planned or even how the blocks were put in place. Number 8 is the Baigong pipes. The Baigong pipes are a series of ancient pipes that run through Mount Baigong in China. It's believed that a team of American researchers who were looking for dinosaur fossils were the first to discover the series of pipes before reporting them to officials. The pipes range up to 16 inches in diameter and run through the mountain and 3 of its caves. Some of them run all the way to Tosu Lake, which is about 260 feet away from the foot of the mountain. They're believed to be very, very old and made from oxidized iron, silicon dioxide, and calcium oxide. But not only is the purpose of these pipes a mystery, but scientists are still completely baffled by how they could have gotten there. For context, Mount Baigong is completely uninhabitable, so an ancient civilization would have had to make their way there and have the technology developed enough to make the pipes and drill through the rock. It's extremely unlikely for them to be there, but there they are. Number 9 is flexible glass. Between 14 and 37 AD, during the reign of Roman Emperor Tiberius Caesar, a glassmaker invented vitrum flexible or unbreakable glass that was so advanced we still don't understand it. From the glass, he made a drinking bowl which he gave to the emperor. Tiberius tested the bowl by throwing it on the ground, and amazingly the glass didn't break and only had a small dent. He told the emperor that he was the only one who knew the formula and technique for making the glass. But like a lot of inventors ahead of their time, instead of being praised and given heaps of cash, things went in a very different direction. Despite it being a groundbreaking discovery, Tiberius was less than impressed because he was worried that it would bring down the value of silver and gold. So, like any other reasonable dictator would do, he had the glassmaker beheaded, and with his death went the secret of the glass and its properties. And number 10 is Sacsayhuaman. Located on the outskirts of Cusco, it was built on a hilltop between 900 and 1000 AD by the Kilk culture, before it was expanded during the 13th century under the Inca Empire. But it's not what lies behind the walls that's so interesting, but instead the walls themselves. The walls are made from massive carved limestone boulders over 27 feet tall and weighing over 100 tons. They would have been transported from a quarry nearly 2 miles away, and they are some of the strongest walls ever built. That's because the stones fit together so perfectly that not even a blade of grass can wedge between them. Even more impressive is that mortar wasn't even used to keep them together. Some people have theorized that the stones were carved all together, but they're so oddly shaped and yet so precise that scientists still have no idea what technology would have been used to calculate the angles. Just one of many mysteries that remain unsolved. Number 10 is the Coso artifact. Many claim that the Coso artifact is similar to the modern-day spark plug. Proponents of this theory argue that the artifact was manufactured with modern metallurgy techniques and other technologies that were not available until at least the 20th century. The problem with this is that the Coso artifact was found encased in a geode. That geode is estimated to be at least 500,000 years old. So how did this spark plug end up inside a rock that was over 500,000 years old? Several scientists have proposed that the artifact was covered by a type of rock formation which only takes a few years to occur. However, others continue to argue that the Coso artifact is evidence that unknown intelligent beings were crafting technology on this planet hundreds of thousands of years ago. Number 9 is an Egyptian aircraft. Egypt is bathed in mystery, mainly because we still debate how such a civilization could create the complex relics which survive today. This uncertainty has opened the doors to theories about ancient aliens as well as other intelligences being involved in the Egyptian civilization. But while many archaeologists believe that such theories underestimate the talents of the ancient Egyptian people, some relics may be evidence that they were far more advanced than we could have possibly imagined. One such relic is known as the Saqqara bird. It dates back to at least 200 BC, and some have suggested that this dynamic wooden model is proof that the ancient Egyptians understood aviation, at least to a degree. This leads to the question, how exactly did the Egyptians know exactly how to build full-scale gliders? Number 8 are the Kloksdorp spheres. The Kloksdorp spheres are the very definition of unexplained relics. The spherical stones have been collected by miners for many years. They've mainly been discovered in deposits of pyrrhophyllite in South Africa. Numerous examples have been discovered, with each sphere or disc appearing to have circular carvings that are etched in them. They typically range in diameter from 0.5 to 10 centimeters and can be dark red or brown. Many believe that they are out-of-place relics made by an intelligence billions of years ago. Others suggest that natural processes created the spheres and discs, though the exact process remains a mystery. It's for that reason that we are left with at least the possibility that the spheres are relics of an unknown intelligent origin. Number 7 are the Ulfberht swords. The Viking swords known as Ulfberht swords have caused debate among archaeologists, creating a mystery over their place in currently understood history. The blades of these swords contain a Viking inscription on one side with geometric patterns on the other. But it's not the inscriptions which have puzzled experts, but rather the technology used to make the swords, which defies explanation. The metal has an unusually high carbon content in such a way that each sword was heated in a previously unknown manner. No one is quite sure how the Vikings pulled this feat off, but what is certain is that most experts believed that such technology didn't appear until fairly recently. That leaves us to ask, how did the Vikings make such a sword, and what other technologies did they have which have been forgotten to time? Number 6 is Adam's Bridge. Adam's Bridge is an unusual chain of limestone shoals which runs between Pambin Island and the coast of southeastern India. While the bridge is now covered by the sea, accounts suggest that it was usable as recently as the 15th century. That meant that people were walking on it to cross the sea. Where the mystery deepens is what the bridge actually is. Some geologists believe that it was once a naturally occurring land bridge which either collapsed into the sea or was engulfed by rising sea levels. But tantalizingly, there was some evidence to suggest that it may have been man-made. Ancient texts describe how Prince Rama had the land bridge built to reach his wife across the sea. If this proves to be true, the 50-kilometer long wide bridge would be a new wonder of the world and a technological marvel to rival the pyramids of Giza. Number 5 are the Dropa stones. Also known as the Dropa Ka stones, these stones have perplexed researchers since their initial discovery in the early 20th century. The stones consist of 716 circular stone discs. Investigations carried out in the 1960s indicate that they date back to at least 12,000 years ago. This was long before modern civilization. On each of the discs appears to be tiny hieroglyph markings. Investigators debated whether the markings were man-made or natural formations. The initial researcher claimed that the hieroglyphs told the story of a group of people known as the Dropa people. They were supposedly hunted down by another group in China, and the last remaining members of the population engraved the story into the stones. The mystery deepens when, in the 1990s, the stones vanished, as did the museum manager who was looking after them. Number 4 is the Great Wall of Texas. The American continent is often referred to as the New World. This is because the European colonists who settled there saw it as an extension of the Old World Europe. But this Eurocentric idea is obviously not true, since there were countless civilizations living in both North America and South America for thousands of years before the Europeans turned up. In the modern-day United States, native peoples seem to be more nomadic rather than building large settlements. But in 1852, a strange discovery was made which blew all of that out of the water. A Texas farmer was digging a well and discovered an ancient rock wall far beneath the surface. Geologists continue to debate whether the wall is man-made or a natural formation. If it's man-made, it would date back to at least 200,000 years ago and literally rewrite human history. Number 3 is the Hidden Character Stone. The Hidden Character Stone of China is a mysterious relic which has garnered debate, controversy, and outright disbelief. The reason for the controversy is that, according to some scientists, the megalithic stone contains an inscription which defies conventional explanation. The stone was discovered lodged between two cliffs in a region which has been left untouched by humans for some time. Inside the crack, observers were shocked to find words written in a simplified version of Chinese. There's a debate about what the inscription actually says, but it seems to be along the lines of "the Chinese Communist Party will perish." Different researchers have looked at the stone and tried to gauge its age. The conclusion is that the stone itself is 270 million years old. Therefore, how did the Chinese inscription find itself inside the rock? Number 2 is the Oklo nuclear reactor. In the early 1970s, a uranium sample was imported from Oklo in Africa's Gabon Republic. Usually this sample would have to go through a complex man-made process to fully extract the uranium for use in a nuclear reactor. However, what makes this sample so perplexing is that the uranium had already gone through this process. The reason this doesn't make sense is that the sample dates back to 1.8 billion years ago. While some have explained this strange phenomenon as a previously unknown natural occurrence where uranium could be processed beneath the ground, some scientists, including a Nobel Prize winner, believe that it could have only been placed in this state by an intelligence. The question remains, what kind of intelligence was around on planet Earth 1.8 billion years ago? And number 1 is the giant's fingertip. Egypt has been the victim of grave robbing for centuries. Experts, enthusiasts, and even thieves plundering Egypt's great heritage. During this process in the 1960s, a strange relic was discovered by a grave robber. It appeared to be an organic material. More than that, it had the same appearance as a perfectly preserved finger. What makes this finding so mysterious is that the finger was 35 centimeters long, far longer than any human's. In the late 80s, the finger was x-rayed and analyzed, but since then it has mysteriously disappeared. Some believe this is because the finger was a hoax, while others believe it was sold onto the black market. If the finger is indeed real, then it may tie into the surviving descriptions of giant hominoids which legends say once dominated the planet before Homo sapiens even arrived. Number 1 is the Aegis. Originating in Greek mythology, the Aegis was first mentioned in the ancient Greek poem The Iliad by Homer. Said to be created by the goddess Athena herself, the Aegis granted its owner protection from any harm while in battle. Interestingly, scholars have never known exactly what the Aegis is, although it's generally believed to be a shield forged from the skin of a giant during the great battle between the Olympians and the Titans. It's also said that the hero Perseus killed the snake-haired Gorgon Medusa, and that her face, capable of turning any man into stone, was affixed to the front of the shield, making it not only a powerful defense, but also a powerful weapon. Very cool object, not so cool name. I mean, it sounds like the name of Hercules' grandmother, Aegis. Come here, Hercules, and give your grandmother Aegis a hug. Number 2 is the Cap of Invisibility. Originating in Greek mythology, the Cap of Invisibility is a cap or helmet that grants its wearer invisibility. Surprising based on its name, I know. Also known as the Cap of Hades, the Helmet of Hades, or the Helmet of Darkness, the cap is said to be one of a few powerful items given from the Cyclopes to the gods to help them defeat the Titans. The Cap of Invisibility also enables its user to become invisible to other supernatural entities, functioning much like the cloud of mist that the gods surround themselves in to become undetectable to mortals. Number 3 is the Book of Tot. Originating in Egyptian mythology, the Book of Tot was a book of ancient magic said to be written by Tot, the Egyptian god of writing and knowledge. The book is said to contain 2 spells. One gives someone the ability to understand the minds of the gods, and the other gives someone the ability to understand animals. The story is that a prince of Egypt named Neferkaptah stole the book, but was punished by Tot by killing his wife and son. Neferkaptah then committed suicide, where his body was entombed with the book, where his ghost guards it to this day. Interesting fable, but if this book were real, it doesn't really seem worth it to have all that happen to you just to be able to hear what a cow has to say, you know what I'm saying? Number 4 is the Spear of Destiny. Originating in Christian mythology, the Spear of Destiny, also known as the Holy Lance or Holy Spear, is the name given to the lance that pierced the side of Jesus Christ as he hung on the cross. As legend has it, the one who holds this sacred relic is granted the power to control the world. Unlike the other mythological objects on on this list. This one's unique in that there are multiple churches across the world all claiming to have the original Spear of Destiny in their possession today. But then again, this wouldn't be the first time that religious institutions argued over something that may or may not have ever existed, so yeah, par for the course, I guess. Number 5 is the Hand of Glory. Well, this one's on the creepy side. Originating in European mythology, the Hand of Glory is a mythological object said to have the power to unlock doors and freeze anybody in their place who's in its presence. It's said to be made of a dried, pickled hand of a murderer who was hanged. A candle made of the fat of a dead criminal was affixed to one of the fingers, and the dead man's hair was used as a wick. The candle is said to give light to only those who hold it and can only be put out by the same person. It's said to be the product of the darkest of black magic, and some nutjob who decided to make a candle out of some dead guy's hand. Yeah, phrase of the day, folks, mental illness. It's a thing. Number 6 is the Chintamani stone. Originating in Oriental mythology, the Chintamani stone is said to be a wish-fulfilling jewel that descended from Buddha himself. In Buddhism, this stone is said to be one of 4 relics that came in a chest that fell from the sky in Tibet in 173 AD. Besides its supernatural powers, it's said to represent the values and teachings of the Buddha, making it a revered object of lore. The Western equivalent of this jewel would be the Philosopher's Stone, which is a legendary alchemical substance said to be able to turn base metals like lead into silver and gold. Number 7 is the Skatert Samobranka. Originating in Russian mythology, the Skatert Samobranka was a magical tablecloth, but it's not as lame as it sounds. When unfolded, it would magically produce food, and when folded up again, it would magically clean itself. However, there were rules to using it. The tablecloth was sentient, meaning it had the ability to perceive and feel things, so it had to be cared for and respected. If it wasn't cared for, it would ruin the food that it created, and if it was damaged in any way, it would slowly lose its magical powers. Damn, well, if Disney movies have taught me anything, it's that magic fabrics can be very temperamental, and I don't care what this thing offers me, I got more respect for myself than that, honey. Number 8 is the Ring of Gyges. Originating in Greek mythology, the Ring of Gyges is a magical artifact said to grant its owner the power to become invisible at will. The ring was first mentioned by the philosopher Plato in Book 2 of his literary work, The Republic. The story is that a shepherd named Gyges entered a tomb in a mountain that was revealed after an earthquake happened. He then discovers a golden ring on a corpse that's much larger than a regular man. Upon taking the ring and putting it on his finger, he discovers that he can become invisible at will simply by adjusting it. The ring then corrupts him, where he goes to the palace, seduces the queen, kills the king, and becomes king himself. Well, if somebody who finds a magical gold ring who goes crazy sounds familiar to you, that's because it happened to me. No, I'm just kidding, that's Lord of the Rings. Number 9 are the 7 League Boots. Originating in European mythology, the 7 League Boots are said to allow the wearer to take strides of 7 leagues or 30 kilometers per step. These boots are the subject of many European fairy tales and are often presented by a magical character to a protagonist to aid them in the completion of an important task. These boots have appeared in over 20 stories in various countries around the world, including Germany, France, Norway, Russia, England, and the United States. And number 10, the Holy Grail. Originating in Christian mythology, the Holy Grail is quite possibly the most well-known mythological object of all time. Although it's well-known, scholars differ quite a bit when it comes to the possible origins of the Grail. Some stories say that the Grail was used by Jesus himself to give communion to his followers during the Last Supper before he was killed. Other stories say that the Grail was used by Joseph of Arimathea to catch Jesus' blood after he was pierced by the Spear of Destiny while on the cross. Regardless of its true origin, one thing remains the same, which is that the Grail is said to grant immeasurable power and immortality to anyone who drinks from it. Well, that and a way to reach the top of the charts, am I right, playa? Number 10 is the Miraculous Medal. On July 19, 1830, the day before the feast of Saint Vincent de Paul in Paris, France, Saint Catherine Labouré awoke to the sound of a child calling her name to the chapel. It was there that she received instructions from the Virgin Mary herself, a mission from God. After another visit from the apparition on November 27th, Labouré designed the Miraculous Medal, an image of Mary on one side and a capital M woven into a cross and the altar on the other, explaining to the church that whoever wore it or a copy of it would receive great graces. In 1832, goldsmith Adrien Vachette began producing the medals, and almost instantly the people who donned them began seeing seeing their fortunes change. Although these metals are no longer produced, the original metals can still be found today if you're looking for some supernatural help. Number 9 is the miraculous image of Our Lady of Guadalupe. Since the year 1751, the miraculous image of Our Lady of Guadalupe has been the focus of several experiments and studies, yet it continues to leave scientists scratching their head. That's because this cloak, which belonged to a 57-year-old Mexican peasant named Juan Diego, is seemingly impossible to duplicate, and stranger still, impossible to destroy. The image of the cloak is that of the Virgin Mary, with an intricacy in the detailing of her eyes that was apparently not attainable by artists at the time, or for that matter, even this time. At 2.5 centuries old, the image has barely worn away at all. In fact, it has survived more than you could imagine. In 1921, a bombing of the Basilica in Guadalupe devastated almost every artifact within its walls, with one exception being the cloak. It was the only artifact in the vicinity that was undamaged. Number 8 is the blood of Saint Januarius. After his death in 305 AD, Saint Januarius, a bishop of Naples' blood was saved. In the 17th century, the blood was sealed in a glass ampule and stored in a shrine inside of Naples Cathedral, where it remains today. 3 times a year on September 19th, December 16th, and the Saturday before the first Sunday in May, a ritual is held at the cathedral in which the ampule is removed from the shrine and, before thousands of people's eyes, the dried blood liquefies again. On occasion, the blood remains dry, but it often comes hand in hand with bad news, such as the start of World War II in 1939 or in 1980 when southern Italy was hit by a deadly earthquake. How does the blood change in consistency so drastically? Well, that's anyone's guess, but the faithful feel that it's the power of God. Number 7 is the Philosopher's Stone. You may have already heard of this relic from the first Harry Potter book, but make no mistake, that fictional story centerpiece is actually based on an ancient artifact that supposedly exists out there in the real world. While some claim the first reference to the Philosopher's Stone was in Greece in 300 AD, others say it was God who told Adam of its wonder. Regardless, the stone is said to transmute base metals into gold or silver, turn crystals into precious gems, and heal any illness that the holder has. If a person eats even a scraping off the Philosopher's Stone, legend has it that they will be granted prolonged life, and if the stone is left next to a dead plant, it will actually bring it back to life. Though tales have been told of it being handed down through families or in the hands of the church, its true location is a mystery. Number 6 is the Ring of Charlemagne. Dubbed the Father of Europe and Charles the Great, Charlemagne united much of Europe during the Middle Ages, holding the title of Holy Roman Emperor for 13 years, until his death on January 28, 814 AD. During his rule, it was reported that he fell deeply in love with a German woman, who soon after died. Charlemagne denied her a funeral worshipping her dead body, which incredibly did not break down. One day, an archbishop removed a ring from the woman's finger and immediately noticed that she began to decompose. After finally burying her, Charlemagne then began making advances at the archbishop, who realized it was the ring drawing the emperor's affection. He threw it into a lake, which Charles then worshipped until his death. However, the exact location of that ring is unknown. Number 5 is the Book of Thoth. Said to have been authored by Thoth, the Egyptian god of writing and knowledge, the Book of Thoth is a powerful artifact from ancient times that can make a person supremely powerful and give them great gifts while also dealing out some of God's wrath. It legendarily grants the reader the ability to enchant the sky, the earth, the abyss, the mountains, and the sea. It's rumored to also contain spells that allow humans to understand the language of animals and even perceive the gods themselves. But the curse that Thoth placed on it is said to be horrible, bringing death and misery along with these abilities. According to some scholars, the Book of Thoth is not actually a single tome, but potentially as many as 36,525 of them. As with many other things on this list, the location of the book or books is completely unknown. Number 4 is the Hand of Glory. On display inside the Whitby Museum in North Yorkshire, England, is a truly disturbing relic that any thief would love to have in their possession. That relic is the Hand of Glory, the severed left hand of an executed criminal that's said to give its holder an assortment of abilities. Reportedly, these abilities include being able to see in perfect darkness while remaining unseen, holding other people in place, and even opening every lock it goes near. Oddly, this isn't necessarily the only one of its kind, as the display also includes a list of instructions on how to make another, a ritual that includes severing the hand, pickling it in a mixture of several different urines and vinegar, smoking it for 3 days, hanging it on an oak tree, then at a crossroads, and finally at a church. Technically, anyone can make one, if they have the guts. Number 3 is the Spear of Destiny. Also known as the Holy Lance, the Spear of Destiny is both an incredible Christian artifact and the last thing we'd want to fall into any leader's hands. That's because if the legends are true, whoever holds the spear has the ability to rule the world. The reason this supernatural relic is so powerful is because it was the weapon that a Roman soldier pierced the body of Christ with to ensure that he was dead after being crucified. Since that time, those who have been suspected of possessing the Spear of Destiny have reportedly found great victory with it, and then died very soon after losing it. In fact, it's believed that the spear was sought after and even possibly held for a short time by Adolf Hitler, bringing him short-lived victory before it abandoned him. Number 2 is the Holy Grail. One of the most, if not the most, sought-after relic on the planet is the Holy Grail. Said to be a goblet or a cup that was used to catch some of Jesus Christ's blood and sweat while he was being crucified. The Grail has been described in a number of different ways, making it even more difficult to locate. Some say that it's made of wood, while others say it was clay or even a stone bowl. Legend tells of the many gifts drinking from the Holy Grail can grant a person. Allegedly, it can heal the body and soul, grant eternal youth, and make all of the drinkers' troubles melt away from their mind, giving them clear thought and purpose. The true location of the Grail today is under fierce debate, and many churches and institutions claim that it rests within their walls. And number 1 is the Ark of the Covenant. Said to contain the 2 stone tablets on which Moses transcribed the Word of God in the form of the 10 Commandments, the Ark of the Covenant is a wooden chest complete with a tight lid that's been covered in gold. It's said to be around 1.3 meters in length and possesses great power. Legend says that when priests carrying the ark came upon a river blocking their path, the water dried up, only returning once they'd made it safely across. Another legend says that during the Battle of Jericho, it was carried around the city's perimeter for 7 days, after which the walls and the city fell. It's believed that along with Moses' tablets, the chest also contains his brother Aaron's rod and a pot of manna, an edible substance God gave the Israelites to avoid starvation while crossing the desert for 40 years. Number 1 is the Book of Soiga. Also known as Eldaria, the Book of Soiga is a legendary book that exists right now in the UK that is said to have been presented to Adam himself by the angels of God in the Garden of Eden. The 197 pages of the book consist of everything from spells, rituals, and information on other magics, demonology, and astrology. The first known owner of this book was John Dee, a well-known Elizabethan mathematician, astrologer, and consultant to the court of the Queen. He possessed over 3,000 books, which was the largest library in England at the time. After his death, however, the books seemed to vanish from existence, only to suddenly resurface in not one, but two different places in 1994. One was the British Library in London, and the other was the Bodleian Library in Oxford. Okay, so obviously the existence of this book defies logic, but what also defies logic is why this guy had over 3,000 books. I mean, I'm all about hobbies and whatnot, but go see some sunlight, man. Number 2 is the Roanoke Codex. All 448 pages of this book are written in a language that, to this day, is still indecipherable. The Roanoke Codex's words are written from right to left on each page and are accompanied by 87 illustrations of military battles, landscapes, and other images that may have religious influence. Scholars have noted that the number of symbols used in the book are 10 times those in any known alphabet. The codex was discovered in 1700 in Hungary, and since then many have tried to decipher it with wildly different translations. The fact is, this mysterious book may never be truly understood. Kind of like Michael Jackson. That man was an enigma. Rest in peace. Number 3 is the Great Omar Book. Technically, the full title of this book is the Sangorsky edition of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. Well, that's quite the mouthful. Francis Sangorsky was a bookbinder from London who started a firm in 1901 and created the first of what many claim to be the most cursed book of all time. The book that Sangorsky made found its way to the bottom of the Atlantic when it sank with, of all things, the Titanic. Then there was a second copy made using Sangorsky's original drawings, which was destroyed soon after completion in the early days of World War II when London was bombed during the Blitz. It then took 40 years to finish the third copy, which was donated to the British Library after its maker, Stanley Bray, died. You know, maybe I'm just pragmatic, but I would just not touch the book. I don't care what secrets lie within. It's don't kill me, man. Be pragmatic, don't touch those pages. Number 4 are the Prophecies of Nostradamus. Possibly the most famous book on this list, The Prophecies of Nostradamus is one that is widely claimed to have predicted several major events in human history. These include the rise of Napoleon and Adolf Hitler, the Great Fire of London, the dropping of the first nuclear bomb, and even the September 11th attacks on the World Trade Center in New York City. People seem to consistently be linking every disaster, both those that occur naturally and those that are man-made, to the words that Michel de Nostradam wrote 400 years ago. Now, this is highly contested, with many believing that these predictions are 100% accurate and some that just call them out as false. Personally, I would love to be able to predict the future, but not just the things that are bad. I feel like that would make you a bit of a party pooper. Hey Matt, nice to meet you. You're gonna lose your job tomorrow. Okay, good chat. Number 5 is the Ripley Scroll Book. Named after the 15th century Augustine monk and alchemist George Ripley, the Ripley Scroll reads almost like a journal and is essentially a real-life wizard spellbook. It chronicles the man's travels across Europe as he combed the land in search of immortality and the secrets behind transmutation. Legend has it that he was able to change lead into gold with a spell contained within the pages by creating the Philosopher's Stone. This, of course, in turn was used to make the elixir of life, which many claim had made the monk immortal. Now, history claims that the man died in 1490, but he may still be out there somewhere, waiting, drinking on that sweet elixir. Number 6 is the Popol Vuh. According to a tale told by Francisco Ziemens, a Dominican priest, the Popol Vuh was a manuscript given to him when, in 1701, he visited a small town in Guatemala. The Popol Vuh, which translates to the Book of the People, contains an elaborate creation story involving 4 deities, a brief history of the planet, and cosmology teachings. Though he cites his source as a parishioner in the town, no similar manuscript has ever been found. There are some scholars scholars who argue that he should never have been given access to the pages since it was considered a closely guarded secret. The Popol Vuh is definitely a book shrouded in mystery. Number 7 are the Beale ciphers. The Beale ciphers are basically like the beginning of a real-life national treasure. The pages are actually a trio of ciphers, which lead to a massive hidden treasure of gold, silver, and jewels worth nearly, brace yourself, $63 million. As legend has it, in 1820, the pages were given in a box by Thomas Beale to an innkeeper in Virginia named Robert Morris. The box was given with the instruction that he should only open the box if Beale did not return within 10 years. And of course, Beale disappeared, so naturally Morris opened the box and began trying to break the code written on the papers inside. In all of history, only one of the pages has ever been deciphered, and it took, believe it or not, the Declaration of Independence as a key to unlock it. And you guys thought I was joking about the national treasure thing. Neither of the codes have ever been broken to this day, and many claim that the treasure is still out there waiting to be found. I think it would be hilarious after decades, somebody finally cracked the Beale cipher and they open the box, and instead of treasure, it's just like a note that says lo 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 lo. That would be money. Number 8 are the Dead Sea Scrolls. Discovered in 11 caves across the shore of the Dead Sea, starting with one that 2 goat herders found, the Dead Sea Scrolls are considered the greatest manuscript discovery of modern times. They were found between 1947 and 1956 and contain, amongst other things, the oldest collection of Old Testament manuscripts ever discovered. These included prophecies by Ezekiel, Daniel, and Jeremiah that have never been found in the Bible before. The scrolls themselves are unbelievably over 2,000 years old, and at least one of them is an ancient treasure map to 64 different buried treasures. Look, I appreciate that the goat herders handed these in for historical purposes, but if I found a treasure map like that led to 64 different big treasures, you would never see me again. I would be on an island bathing in gold and jewels. Sorry, historians. Number 9 is the Liber Linteus. The Liber Linteus only contains 1,200 words, written on 230 lines, but what makes it truly unique is what those words are written on, and also what it was used for later. The ancient text refers to the Etruscans, people who populated Italy before the rise of the Roman Empire. It's scribed on linen, making it the only known example of a book made that way. Interestingly, after the Etruscans fell, their Roman conquerors would have destroyed the text if for not how it was preserved and hidden. The Liber Linteus was written on wrappings covering an Egyptian tailor's mummified wife, which is how it was discovered in the 1800s when the mummy was donated to a museum. Now, if they really wanted to hide this message, I think they should have put some underwear on the mummy, because think about it. Someone discovers a mummy, sees underwear, what are they gonna do? They're gonna look underneath. They're gonna find a message on some mummy dick. And number 10 is the Voynich manuscript. This final one is vastly considered the most mysterious book on the planet. The Voynich manuscript is so old and confusing that many an argument has been had to how exactly it needs to be studied. Written by an anonymous author, the manuscript is almost impossible to translate, but some people claim that it's actually a puzzle. The book, which in the 1800s was part of a Jesuit library, is named after Wilfrid Voynich, a Polish book dealer who came into its possession in 1909. It's an illustrated handwritten codex penned in a language that was previously unknown. To this day, it's still not known exactly what the manuscript is or even what's said on its pages. Number 10 is a Tai Jin mask. Occasionally, ancient relics from obscure occult practices are listed on eBay. One such listing was for a Jin mask from Thailand. This type of mask is worn by a powerful sorcerer during rituals designed to capture the demonic spirits in people or in the surrounding environment. The seller of this particular mask claim to have been present during one such ritual when a powerful witch captured the essence of a jinn. This spirit is connected to genie mythology, and although more terrifying than Western depictions, it's said to grant good fortune to anyone who can tame the demonic creature. It's said that this particular jinn trapped in the mask can keep undead creatures such as vampires at bay. However, a word of warning, jinns are known to prey on humans should they be mishandled. Number 9 is the Victorian Gentleman. In 2017, an eerie object was listed on eBay known as a daguerreotype. This is a type of photograph which is no longer produced and is printed onto a silvered copper plate. The photograph in question was of a man, and the seller stated that he had been told that the man's name was Martin. Where the item takes a dark turn is that the seller had experienced a series of paranormal encounters connected to the Victorian gentleman. Voices could be heard, strange knocks, and when a Ouija board was used to contact the man in the photo, he answered a number of questions about the past. However, when asked about how he had died, he would move the planchette off the board. The seller speculated on the possibility that the spirit was not in fact Martin, but something else entirely, manipulating people for some dark purpose. Number 8 is a cursed ring. Some eBay items are less to be used but more worn. However, given that many pieces of jewelry on the site are secondhand, you might want to think twice when you uncover their history. Take one ring, which was listed on the site in September of 2015. The seller claimed that the ornate ring contained a mysterious spirit. This spirit would appear telepathically to those sensitive enough to see her, taking the form of a beautiful young woman. If the right owner came along, it was said that the spirit could grant the wearer power. However, the sale came with a warning. If the wrong person wears the ring, then the spirit turns against them, taking the form of a ferocious beast and insidiously attacking them, eroding away everything good in their life. The ring was bought, but no one has heard from the current owner. Number 7 are dancing shoes. Discovered on a haunted estate in Virginia, a pair of children's vintage tap shoes were listed on eBay with an unsettling backstory. The shoes were discovered in an abandoned nursery on the estate, along with Victorian children's clothing, books, and vintage toys. Those connected to the estate say that a malevolent spirit of a woman named Jenny roams the halls and rooms of the house and would torment the children who stayed there when they were alive. The owner of the shoes is a mystery, though on the soles of the shoes the name Lisa is written. When the shoes were left alone in the nursery, witnesses claimed they heard the ghastly tapping of someone wearing them, dancing. Whether that spirit was Lisa or perhaps Jenny herself trying to lure people to the abandoned room, no one is certain. Number 6 is Jeffrey Dahmer's jacket. Every now and then, a unique, one-of-a-kind item is listed on eBay. Often this is a harmless object with little or no negativity attached to it. However, in one instance, the item was connected to the acts of one of the most infamous criminals in American history. The seller had been a friend of serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer when they were in high school. The listing was for a jacket Dahmer had loaned the seller when they were in need of something that looked like an army jacket for a play. The item had been hanging up in the seller's family home for decades, and when everyone in the family was made aware of who it used to belong to, they decided that they couldn't have something like that in their house. The jacket was bought for $150 by someone who had no qualms about owning or perhaps wearing a serial killer's clothes. Number 5 is the Anguished Man painting. The Anguished Man painting is one of the most famous and frightening items ever listed on eBay. The painting was created by an unknown artist. The foreboding human figure depicted in the painting, without eyes and with a gaping mouth, is said to have been painted by some artist using his own blood. Understandably, there's a lot of controversy surrounding the eBay listing. It was originally listed on eBay for sale, but the owner seemed to have a change of heart and took it down. The reasoning is that the painting had been associated with eerie footsteps and other paranormal phenomena ever since the artist passed away. The owner of the painting feels so strongly that it is dangerous that he doesn't want anyone else exposed to its evil powers unnecessarily, and so he's locked the painting away behind closed doors. Number 4 is a crying lamb. A number of haunted dolls have been listed on eBay for sale, but one of the most obscure and most troubling is the Crying Lamb doll. The doll is in the shape of a cuddly lamb, though its once soft material is now darkened with grime and age. The seller of the doll claimed that the lamb would speak at night. Coming from inside of it, the voice of a child could be heard, scratched and repetitive, like coming from an old record player. Eventually, the seller decided that the spirit attached to the lamb could not rest because it was not with the right owner. The listing then hoped that the lamb toy could be united with a sympathetic owner, perhaps a child, who could take care of it and allow the spirit to rest. Some believe that the item is haunted by a young girl named Cindy, but whether she ever found peace, no one knows. Number 3 is Edgar's Things. One eBay seller discovered an unusual box in the attic of an old Victorian home. The box was tattered and aged, covered in a thick layer of dust. Preserved inside were a child's trinkets, including a collapsing cup, some books, and a tin monkey toy. But what was really unsettling about it, however, was that it also contained locks of human hair. One lock of hair had a pink slip attached to it which read, "Died March 14th, 1920, Little Edgar." At first, the seller kept the items. However, its presence in the house upset her dogs, and once the box was on the property, they would bark and stare at an empty corner of the house as if something was standing there. Certain that she had inadvertently brought the spirit of little Edgar into her home, she sold the items on eBay to someone that she hoped would know what to do with them. Number 2 is the Lombok Island box. In March of 2019, a strange wooden box was listed on eBay, and its presence got a lot of people in the paranormal community talking. Known as the Lombok box, it was carved from coconut bark and then decorated with shells from Lombok Island in 1942. It was gifted to a high-ranking British officer, whose son then inherited it. The family of the officer believed that it was cursed, though apparently selling the thing made the curse stronger. Even so, it was given away several times, and the most recent seller acquired it after the latest owner, a man in his 90s, moved into a nursing home. Following this, the seller felt uncomfortable having it in their home and placed it in a shed, despite its value. The trouble with the box is that to give it away or to sell it can make the haunted presence associated with it more active. And number 1 is the human skull epidemic. One of the most macabre items for sale on eBay is that of a human skull. Not a replica, but the bona fide skeletal remains of a once living person. Worse than this, the selling of such items is common and widespread. The Louisiana Department of Justice in Baton Rouge carried out a survey over 7 months and found that in that time, 454 human skulls had been listed on eBay. Some of those skulls were sold for pennies, others for thousands of dollars, depending on their history and condition. Sellers have been exploiting a loophole on eBay which only allows the selling of skulls for medical purposes. But in a terrifying twist, some believe the skulls are a combination of genuine skulls donated to science, stolen archaeological relics, and, worst of all, unknown victims of homicides sold to the highest bidder. Number 10 is the Star of India. The largest known gem-quality blue star sapphire in the world is known as the Star of India. It's named this after the pattern that's visible on it. The only thing known about its origin is that it was mined under mysterious circumstances in Sri Lanka some 300 years before it appeared in a gem collection at the Paris Exposition in 1900. But wherever it came from before that, a curse tagged along for the ride. The golf ball-sized sapphire has been known to cause incredible bad luck to anyone who acquires it, and it almost seems to enjoy changing hands for that very reason. Such was the case on October 29, 1964, when 3 men broke into a museum where the stone was on display and simply walked off with it. The oddest thing about this story is that of the jewels taken, including the star, none were insured, and the batteries in the security camera just happened to be dead. Shortly after the theft, they were arrested and the stones were recovered and placed back in the museum, almost as if waiting for someone else to steal them. What's especially rare about this situation is that the thieves actually escaped owning the jewel with their lives, unlike many of those who acquired it before them. Number 9 is the Black Prince's Ruby. Often referred to as the Great Imposter, the Black Prince's Ruby is the large stone in the center of England's imperial state crown, a stone which is not a ruby at all but a red spinel. Given to the Black Prince, Edward of Woodstock in the 14th century, the ruby previously belonged to the Sultan of Granada and was literally taken off of his body by his murderer, the King of Castile. However, shortly after receiving the stone, Edward contracted a mysterious illness which took his life. Since that time, numerous deaths have been associated with the Black Prince's Ruby, including Richard III, who apparently died at the Battle of Bosworth while wearing it. For the moment, it actually appears as if the curse is taking a break, but which royal family member will be its focus again when it starts is anyone's guess. For this reason, the imperial state crown rarely makes a public appearance for fear that it will take another life. Number 8 is the Blue Diamond. The Blue Diamond is one of the most mysterious gems on the planet. The bizarre events surrounding this stone are most definitely in the realm of curses. In 1989, a caretaker working for the Saudi royal family stole a number of small jewels, but when he was caught and the stones were returned, it was revealed that one was missing, the Blue Diamond. Almost immediately after the gem was stolen, people involved in the case began disappearing or turning up dead. Even the officer in charge of the investigation was executed in 1995. Number 7 is the Regent. Legend has it that in 1698, a slave working the Kollur mine in India decided to steal what would later be named the Regent Diamond, hiding the stone inside a leg wound that he'd sustained and escaping with it. He'd made a deal with an English sea captain, but was betrayed when the Englishman drowned him so that he could sell the diamond and keep all of the money for himself. However, before dying, the slave cursed the Regent diamond, and that curse has had an effect on all of those who owned it ever since. The stone has been stolen multiple times, and whenever it was recovered, it seemed to bring with it even worse luck. In 1812, Napoleon Bonaparte had the diamond placed in the pommel of his sword, only to be defeated and see the sword be given to his enemies. Number 6 is the Shah Diamond. The Shah Diamond is not the most beautiful gem, nor is it anywhere near the most valuable, but what it lacks in looks and value, it more than makes up for in its bloody history and the darkness that it bestows on those who own it. The diamond was originally taken by the great Mughal Akbar, the ruler of northern India, in 1591 from a conquered region. He and one of his descendants had inscriptions put into the jewel, but in 1738 the Shah Diamond was seized by a Persian ruler, staying in his family line until 1829. That's when Alexander Griboyedak, a Russian diplomat and writer, was murdered on Persian soil. To appease the Russians' call for severe punishment, the diamond was given to Nicholas I, the Tsar. Like clockwork, every single time that the Shah Diamond changes hands, it changes hands in a bloody way. Number 5 is the Sancy Diamond. A favorite among European royalty, the Sancy diamond comes with a curse that not only brings misfortune, but somehow enhances the greed of whoever holds it. The diamond originated somewhere in India, but its first known owner was Charles the Bold, the Duke of Burgundy. After trading hands to other royal men, including Manuel I of Portugal, the Sancy diamond seemed to begin handing out the worst luck. A thief stole it from Portugal, but it wound up being found in the stomach of a murdered royal messenger. He swallowed it to stop it from being discovered by his attackers, who appeared to somehow be drawn to it without knowing why. The Sancy diamond can actually be found today, on display at the Apollo Gallery at the Louvre. But if you're visiting, perhaps don't get too close. Number 4 is the Delhi Purple Sapphire. In 1857, mutiny seized the country of India, and the Delhi Purple Sapphire was stolen from the Temple of Indra. The sapphire was brought by Colonel W. Ferris to England, where suddenly his family began experiencing health and financial troubles, and even a friend committed suicide while holding on to the gem. In 1890, the sapphire was purchased by Edward Heron Allen, who, after a series of his own misfortunes, hurled the jewel into a canal, only to have it miraculously returned to him. Then, in 1943, the Delhi Purple Sapphire was willed to the Natural History Museum and stayed there until 2004, when John Whitaker was asked to bring it to an event. Whitaker tried to travel with it 3 separate times, but was engulfed in a horrible thunderstorm, fell ill with a stomach bug, and then passed a kidney stone. Terrifyingly, those last 2 events almost took his life. Number 3 is the Black Orlov. While the origins of the Eye of Brahma, better known as the Black Orlov diamond, are debated, what's clear is that it's a dangerous jewel to own. There's a legend about the Black Orlov that says that it was stolen from a statue of the Hindu god Brahma, in which the diamond was one of its eyes. The theft brought upon it a curse that has cost countless lives. One of its first owners, J.W. Paris, a diamond dealer, leapt off a skyscraper in New York City in 1932. The next 2 owners were both Russian princesses, one of which was Nadia Orlov, for whom the diamond was named. Both of these women individually jumped off of buildings to their deaths in the 1940s. That led its next owner, Charles F. Winston, to cut the jewel into 3 pieces in an attempt to break the horrible curse. Number 2 is the Koh-i-Noor diamond. As one of the largest cut diamonds on the planet, the Koh-i-Noor diamond's incredible value should draw any person to want it. However, by owning it, that person would apparently soon fall under a curse. Believed to have been taken from the Golcondas mine in India, the The Koh-i-Noor, which means Mountain of Light in Persian, remained with many Indian dynasties until it fell into the hands of Babur, the first emperor of the Mughal Empire, and then Shah Jahan, the emperor behind the construction of the Taj Mahal. Soon after Jahan had the diamond placed in his peacock throne, his own son staged a coup and had the elder man imprisoned. Numerous rulers got their hands on the Koh-i-Noor after that, many of them meeting untimely deaths, until it was finally given to Queen Victoria of Britain in 1849 and hasn't killed a man since. And number 1 is the Hope Diamond. Widely considered to be the world's most famous cursed jewel, the Hope Diamond is said to have originally been stolen from a Hindu idol and then sold to a French trader. As the gem made its way from hand to hand among French royalty, a pattern began to emerge amongst those who owned it. Marie Antoinette and King Louis XVI were beheaded. Princess de Lamballe was killed by a mob who beat her mercilessly, and Jacques Collet committed suicide. The diamond's curse has been responsible for literally dozens of deaths, madness, and loss of wealth. Today, it's on display inside the Washington National Museum of Natural History, where it hopefully will not be able to continue its murder spree. Busby's Stoop Chair. Imagine a chair stained with the darkness of a condemned man's final moments. This is Busby's Stoop Chair, once belonging to the 18th century killer Thomas Busby. Before his execution, Busby cursed the chair, proclaiming that death would befall anyone who dared to sit upon it. And the legend holds, countless individuals have met gruesome fates shortly after ignoring this chilling warning. The chair, now safely tucked away, remains a stark reminder of the potent power of a death curse. The Haunted Wedding Dress. A symbol of love, hope, and new beginnings, twisted into a spectral shroud. This ethereal garment is said to be haunted by the spirit of a young woman who tragically perished before her wedding day. Witnesses claim the dress moves on its own, swaying gently as if an invisible bride were twirling. Cold drafts emanate from it, and some report hearing faint sobs, the echoes of a broken heart forever trapped within a delicate fabric. James Dean's Porsche 550 Spider, the Little Bastard. Speed, glamour, and death. These are the elements intertwined with James Dean's infamous Porsche 550 Spider, nicknamed Little Bastard. The car, a symbol of rebellion and youthful exuberance, became a harbinger of doom. Dean's fatal crash was just the beginning. The car's wreckage continued to inflict tragedy, with subsequent owners and those who handled its parts suffering a series of horrific accidents and even deaths. Little Bastard became a chilling testament to the devastating power of a cursed object, a metal embodiment of ill fortune. The Unlucky Mummy. From the sands of ancient Egypt comes a tale of ancient wrath. This Egyptian artifact, housed in a British museum, is shrouded in a terrifying legend. Those who came into contact with the mummy or its sarcophagus suffered an inexplicable chain of misfortunes, from illness and injuries to financial ruin and untimely deaths. The whispers of a pharaoh's curse, a vengeful spirit guarding its eternal slumber, continue to resonate around this chilling relic. The Bassano Vase. Beauty can conceal unimaginable terror. The Bassano vase, a stunning 15th century Italian artifact, is said to carry a deadly curse. Legend has it that the vase bears a chilling inscription, "Despise me not." Those who have owned this exquisite object have met with swift, tragic ends, leaving behind a trail of fear and unanswered questions. The vase, now hidden away, serves as a chilling reminder that some objects are best left undisturbed, their dark histories forever sealed within their elegant forms. Number 1 is the DeBook box. In 2001, a man named Kevin Manis purchased a wine cabinet at an estate sale and immediately started having terrible nightmares, as did the people around him. He decided to give away the cabinet to his mother, who had a stroke the very same day she received it. Each owner since then has reported horrible events events upon coming into possession of the cabinet. Its last owner, Jason Haxon, developed a strange skin disease among other medical conditions. The origins of the box were traced back to a Holocaust survivor and is believed to be possessed by a Debuk, an evil spirit in Jewish mythology. Upon learning this, Haxon, with the help of local rabbis, decided to hide the box from the rest of the world so that it can't do any more damage. But its legend lives on, and in fact was the inspiration for the 2012 movie The Possession. Well, it's always good to know that there's haunted wine cabinets out there. Think about that next time you crack open a bottle. Number 2 is Annabelle the doll. Annabelle the doll was originally discovered in an antique shop in 1970. After being purchased as a gift from a mother to her daughter Donna, strange happenings began occurring. Upon receiving it and bringing it home, she noticed that over time the doll would appear in other rooms that she did not put it. In addition, little notes would begin appearing around her apartment randomly, and fresh droplets of blood would appear on the doll's dress. As the unexplained phenomena increased, the girl finally contacted renowned psychic investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, who determined that the doll was possessed by a demon. The doll was ultimately given to the Warrens, who put it in a glass cabinet where it remains to this day in their occult museum in Connecticut. The sign on the glass reads, "Warning, positively do not open," as if people need a warning not to touch a psychotic demon doll. Number 3 is the Hands Resist Him painting. Painted by artist Bill Stoneham, the Hands Resist Him is considered one of the world's most haunted pieces of art. Each owner has passed on a similar warning to the next potential buyer, which is that come nightfall, the figures within the painting either move or disappear entirely. Many people that have simply viewed the painting have complained about immediately feeling sick or weak. According to the artist, the doorway represents a threshold between this world and, well, another. The most striking coincidence documented is that the owner of the first gallery to ever show the painting and the art critic that reviewed it both died within 1 year of first seeing it. And I don't know if looking at copies of the painting has the same effect or not, but if it does, oops, sorry. Number 4 is the Crying Boy painting. The Crying Boy painting was created by Italian artist Giovanni Bragolin in the 1950s and quickly became famous. Or should I say infamous. Over the years, the painting became very popular and thus mass-produced and was hung in many homes across Britain. However, it soon became widely reported that many of these homes began mysteriously catching fire, with many of them burning to the ground. But as unsettling as that is, the most disturbing thing is that in many of these homes, the painting of the Crying Boy was discovered, and not only that, but they were all untouched by the raging flames. Now, some attribute these fires to pure coincidence, but the undamaged paintings have yet to be explained. I think the real mystery here is why so many people want a picture of a crying boy in their homes. Some of y'all are sick in the head. Number 5 is Busby's stoop chair. This notorious chair once belonged to convicted murderer Thomas Busby. Before he was hanged for his crimes, his final request was to have a meal at his favorite local pub. However, upon finishing his meal, he stood and proclaimed, "May sudden death come to anyone who dares sit in my chair." Since then, a supposed 63 people who have sat in the chair met their untimely deaths, sometimes mere moments after sitting in it. When the number of deaths became too coincidental, the pub owner donated the chair to the Thirsk Museum in the UK in 1972. The chair is still there today, where it's hung 1.5 meters off of the ground to prevent any further coincidences. Number 6 is Anna Baker's wedding dress. In the mid-1800s, a young girl named Anna Baker, who came from a wealthy family, fell in love with a low-class ironworker. They planned a wedding and she even bought a dress, but when her father discovered the relationship, he forbid the wedding. From that point on, she refused to marry anybody else and spent the rest of her life alone, bitter and angry until her death in 1914. That wedding dress has since been put on display in her old bedroom at the old Baker mansion. It's often observed moving by itself, which could be attributed to a draft or something, except for the fact that it's in an airtight glass case. Some believe that it's Anna's spirit inhabiting the dress, dancing her wedding dance that she never got to have while she was living. Clearly not a dress that you'd want to donate to Goodwill, I assure you. Number 7 is the Bassano vase. The Bassano vase was made from carved silver in the 15th century by an Italian maiden on her wedding night. That very same night, she was found murdered clutching the vase. After her death, the vase was passed on from family member to family member, with each dying an untimely death until eventually the vase was hidden away. Unfortunately, in 1988, the vase was discovered again with a note that read, "Beware, this vase brings death." The chain of deaths continued with each new owner claiming more and more lives. It was even offered to multiple museums, each refusing to take it because of the perceived curse on it. Where it remains now is unclear, but it's believed to be buried in a lead coffin somewhere that is not accessible, at least to the living. Number 8 is the Hope Diamond. The Hope Diamond is the most famous and famously cursed diamond in the world. This 45.5 carat diamond was formed in the earth 1.1 billion years ago, and since its discovery has been owned by several notable people, including a few kings. As it's passed from owner to owner, country to country, the diamond has been known to be plagued with a curse that causes great misfortune to anyone who possesses it. Those who have owned it have suffered disgrace, divorce, suicide, imprisonment, torture, and financial ruin. It currently resides in the Smithsonian Natural History Museum in Washington, D.C., where it's observable by the public. The diamond is never loaned out for any reason, given its value of almost $250 million, and also so that it can never harm another living person. Number 9 are the Maori warrior masks. The Maori warriors of New Zealand lived long ago and used to carve out masks and statues before heading into battle. According to the Maori belief system, any man who died in battle would leave his soul behind in one of the masks. Oddly, although the masks seemed to pose no threat to men, it was found that over time women that were pregnant that came close to the masks suffered complications or other unfortunate events. Several exist in a museum in New Zealand today, but are displayed with a warning that women that are expecting should not come close to the masks for their own safety and the safety of their child. It was never explained why the perceived curse only seems to affect pregnant women, but it's best not to think of this as simply superstition because it's simply not worth the risk. And number 10 is the Myrtles Plantation Mirror. We've talked about the Myrtles Plantation before as one of the most haunted places in the world, but perhaps the most haunted item on the premises is a mirror that was added to the home in 1980. Legend claims that the mirror contains the spirits of Sarah Woodruff and her children who were poisoned to death on the premises. Guests of the plantation have reported seeing figures lurking in the mirror and child-sized handprints on the glass. But mirrors have always been the subject of the supernatural and have been known to harbor evil spirits. So feel free to remember that next time you walk by one in the middle of the night.